You're watching West Hartford Community Television.
You're watching West Hartford Community Television.
Hello and welcome to SHalom, Hartford. Hartford is known as the insurance capital of the world. It's the midpoint between New York and Boston. Not exactly an inspiring destination. But what if your brother was Ben Schlossberg? And what if he bought the Stilts building at 20 Church Street? And what if he begged you to come and revive Hartford? Enter big sister Shana Schlossberg, who is here to rebrand Hartford, to change the face of Hartford. I'm Pat Kazakov. You're watching SHalom Hartford. Stay with me and we're going to meet the moving force behind Innovate Hartford. Why Hartford?
No. So first of all, thanks for having me. Why Hartford is a good question. And exactly a year ago, I knew nothing about Hartford. I knew it by name. I think I knew one person who ever visited here. But I was living in New York City. And when my brother first told me about Hartford, he told me he has in his new building 27,000 square feet that I need to come look at. Now, I'm in New York City. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a startup company, almost 12 employees. And I had called my brother a few weeks before, and I said I wanted to open a robotics and wearables incubator in New York City. I said, Facebook has one, Google has one, Easy Beasy needs one. And he said, no problem, we'll support you. But before you do that, come see my building in Hartford. Robot, everyone knows what a robot is.
Right.
It's what we dream we'll have in our house to clean the house and do the dishes and cook for us. Robot is a machine that is given capabilities or given intelligence to do certain things. Now, we think of robots of what we see in the movies, and mostly people are afraid of robots. The robots will take over and kill us and everything. But people don't know that across this country and across the world, almost every industry is being operated by robots.
So you wanted to create a center for this.
He convinced me to come and see this space in Hartford. And when I first arrived here, I think unconvinced. I mean, it was a distance, it was difficult. But when I first entered that space, this 27,000 square feet of raw space, I was enamored. I said, okay, this is amazing. And before I even knew the city, I just saw the space. And the important thing is when entrepreneurs, we can't work in offices. We need a raw space. We need a place where something that inspires our creativity. And especially you're talking about people that want to work in next generation technologies. These are not people who are building software to be used in a bank necessarily. These are people who are imagining how a world will look in 10 years. So the creativity and spurring their creativity is the most important thing.
But Hartford?
The space.
The space.
I started with the space.
Okay.
And then I went back. So that was the first thing I checked for. I said, okay, it can happen here. But when I first went to the chalkboard and said, what can I do in Hartford? I started doing my due diligence, my research on Hartford. I realized that there's a bigger opportunity here. And the opportunity was not only let me create a lab for myself where we will create great technologies that will change the world, etc. But how about if we created something that can transform a city? And I started seeing the good and the bad of downtown Hartford, a city that beautiful downtown, but is in decline. And a city that has its fair share of problems. And it's a city that is one of many cities in America that has been hurt by manufacturing jobs that left. A city that everyone tells me 30 years ago was the place to be and now is not. And their only claim to fame, as you started, is we're between New York and Boston. And that bothered me, almost as if someone says, I am his sister, or I am this. Because,
which is what I said.
Exactly. Because everyone needs their own identity. Everyone needs their own brand. And I felt there's so much more to Hartford than just we're stuck between two cities, come to us. And
so that was the kernel.
Yes.
You loved the space.
I love the space.
And you got attracted to Hartford.
I got attracted to the plight of second-tier cities in America. That's what, I'm a social entrepreneur. So when I look at a problem, I don't look at a problem, how can I solve a problem for my own good? How can I make money? As many people do, and that's fine. We're a capitalistic country. I mostly look and I said, what if I can do something that could actually affect many people? If I can do something that can transform many people?
So once you got off the chalkboard, and once you decided that this is the city, this is the space, What happened next?
So what I did on the chalkboard was create a concept of creating an ecosystem downtown. I said, there's one thing that can transform a city and put it on a map quicker than anything else, that's technology. A city can go from nothing, what we saw in the Silicon Valley. No one knew San Jose. What was San Jose before the Silicon Valley? And overnight, it's the place to be. It's the place of innovation. It's the place of money. It's everything.
You see Hartford as San Jose 30 years ago?
I see Hartford as Santa Monica 3 years ago, because I was part of the birth of the Silicon Beach in Santa Monica. I arrived in Santa Monica about 3 years ago, and there was only 3 surfers in town. Literally, the sleepiest. And I came from New York, and I said, what is going on here? This is so sleepy. This is like a bat town in Queens. And now there's about 7 co-working spaces, numerous incubators. Uber is there, Google is there. It's one of the most happening places in the tech world. It's not Silicon Valley because we don't have to try to replicate something. We have to say, wait, an area has so many advantages. Let's give it its own silicon. Let's make it its own. And that's why they called it Silicon Beach. Hartford can never be Silicon Valley. It can never be Silicon Beach. It doesn't want to. It has a different mentality. It has different skill sets. But it has the same capability of creating an area of silicon.
But what about the people? I mean, all of this is based on the fact that you're going to have these kinds of people living in the area. We're not exactly known as a high-tech area.
Okay.
What do you do about that?
That's a very good point. And I will preface that by saying the people in Hartford are not less smart than the people in the Silicon Valley. You have many amazing universities here, but I'm looking at 3 specific ones that have booming engineering programs. Each year, hundreds and hundreds of engineering students are graduating, and they're going.
They're leaving.
Yeah, they're leaving town. So it's not that you don't have it. You can't make it stay. So the first challenge I saw is, okay, I have everything I need here. I have a great downtown. I have a great space. I have a lot of money in Hartford. People may not know this, but there's a lot of rich people in Hartford, and they want to invest in startups, and they're investing in startups in the Silicon Valley, in New York. And what I found in this area is that people love Hartford. There's such an interesting love-hate relationship you have with Hartford, but they're dedicated to it in a way that an investor says to me, I prefer to invest in companies that are in Hartford than anything else. Please bring me companies. So what I realized is if I can create this space, if I could fill it up with 100 companies, with 200 companies, then I know they'll get investments. The state here is amazing. There's programs that the state has to really spur innovations, if it's loans and grants. There's great mentors here. There's some really successful businessmen that we're bringing in. There's subject matter experts from the universities. All 3 universities, it's UConn, Trinity, and University of Hartford, are giving us interns for credit. And startups love interns.
But what about the people in the space? Don't they have to rent the space?
Yes.
Okay. So how are we doing with that?
Okay. So the idea is, you take 27,000 square feet, you divide it in a way that there's different levels of leasing available. So at the lowest level, you have 300 seats that anyone could come in and rent for $350 a month. We're trying to attract...
When you say seats, you mean you have a long table and you
No, it's going to look like your living room. There's going to be couches, and there's going to be desks, and there's going to be soft seating, hard seating, these type of seating.
So what
there's
is
going
the
to be
incentive for a young entrepreneur to sit on your couch as opposed to his couch?
Well, think what he does on his couch. He wakes up in the morning, he's alone. He's trying to work on
Maybe.
an idea. Usually an entrepreneur, it's either 1 or 2. I mean, there's not 700 together, right? You're especially if you're on your couch, you're usually operating what we call solopreneurs. I was a solopreneur. Most start as solopreneurs. If you're lucky, you have a good co-founder and you're solopreneurs together. But you have to motivate one another. And in many cases, there's many things you don't know. Should I get a patent? How do I protect my IP? When should I raise money? How much money should I raise? What do I need to show investors? What is what we call an MVP, the minimum viable product? What should I build? How should I build? Who can advise me if I'm building a product? Who can advise me on how to build that product? Who can advise me on the color?
What you're telling me is that the motivation for them to sit on your couch as opposed to their own couch is that they're with people who can help them.
Exactly.
And it only costs them $350.
Exactly. And I say to people, I'm a mathematician. So I say to many people, there's solopreneurs sitting at Starbucks. If you're at Starbucks and you're buying 2 Starbucks a day, it's $3.50 anyways. So by us, it's free coffee. So you might as well sit with us. If you're at home, the electricity, the AC, the winter, the heating is possibly going to reach high numbers anyways. The internet, you may not have great internet at home. We're going to have some of the best fiber optics in the area.
Now, what about the people? Have you already started this process? Have you already started renting space, or are you still in the renovation space?
So we're still renovating. It's almost 2.5 million build out that we're doing. So there's a lot of work being done. People are starting to come in to look at space. People are already reserving if it's offices, because if the first floor will be these 300 open seats, it's 24/7. You could come in and you sit anywhere. One day here, one day you want to concentrate, so you sit in a dark corner so you can work. There's not going to be many dark corners, but upstairs you have offices. 4-person offices, so that's more for companies. And the companies are now reserving seats. People are putting down, all you need in order to reserve your seat is put down the deposit right now. So we do have.
How many people are you anticipating to have in that 27,000 square feet?
Our capacity, at full capacity, 500.
500 people?
Yes.
And how are you advertising for these people now?
So now, in many ways, first of all, there's a lot of PR happening, and so a lot of people are getting to know about it. But more than that, the team put together a free day pass, and they're putting it in every bar and every cafe in town. Literally everywhere that people hang out, we're putting out these day passes. And we're telling bar owners and cafes and restaurants, give it out with every bill. We want people to come experience it, because one of the things it's new in Hartford. In New York, we all know what it is. Yeah, we're bringing innovation, but we feel that the place will sell itself. I've no doubt. I've sat in these places my whole life. You don't want to leave. It's 12 o'clock at night and you're like, oh, I have to go home and go to sleep. Our only goal is to bring people in. Let them come try it. One day, free. Come try it. So these day passes are being given around town. Now, a lot of the press, they're doing some good work on social media, and all of that is bringing in people. We have a whole other program that we're doing, is where we're actively recruiting companies, and our goal is to bring 100 companies within 12 months from outside of Hartford. We're bringing companies from New York, companies from across this great country, companies from Israel, companies from Toronto. We're talking to companies in Scotland and Ireland.
Do you have any of those companies booked already?
Yes.
You do?
Yes,
we do. Are you able to share right now?
Not yet, because the companies that are coming are going through the state process. They're applying for the grants and the SBA Express loans, and once they're approved, they're going to be moving here. I can share the types of companies we're looking at, if that's better.
Let's do that.
We really want, and this is, one of the things I always tell people, you have to be very, very practical. Hartford is a heart city. Not for nothing, it's in the state it is. But I fell in love. And I fell in love because something went off in my brain and said, apropos a city finding its own brand, if an alien would come down from wherever the aliens come down from, look at Hartford, it would see a natural environment, idyllic, it would see beautiful community, family-oriented place, where people really care about one another. I can't explain how many friends I have in town. In New York, no one knows who I am. I don't know any of my neighbors in New York. In Hartford, I can't go out because I'll meet 10 people I know. The city really, there's amazing community here. And on the other hand, it would see a city like New York that's fast-paced. No one knows one another, man eat man. And a startup, a new company needs so much nurturing, needs so much support. Where would that alien think to put them? Of course in Hartford. It's a no-brainer. But suddenly we have to say, no, we have to convince people Hartford is great. No, it's so clear. No convincing needed. We're speaking to hundreds of companies across this country, and we tell them about Hartford. They say, we want to be there. Where do we sign? We're coming.
In the 80s and 90s, there were spaces in Hartford, shared office space. It was a very, very big deal. How do you differ from that?
Okay, now the co-working movement in America, and I don't know what was in the 80s and 90s. I know the current co-working movement. It is the most lucrative industry in America today, and possibly the world. We see the WeWork revolution opening up almost like Starbucks is, especially in the big cities, and generating billions and billions of dollars. That being said, we're not a co-working. space. We may look like one to some people because we're big
Are
space.
you going to look like WeWork?
Yes, we're
because
gonna
it's
look
a high-end look.
Yes,
WeWork is very high-end.
We're going to look like
it looks
WeWork.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
It has all beautiful young people hanging around.
Only beautiful young people allowed. No, I'm kidding.
So the difference between you and WeWork is the overall mission.
Exactly. Very good point. So WeWork is a real estate venture. They take a big space, they rent it out, and they cut it up in pieces, and everyone rents. And they care how. It's almost like a gym. They care about membership. It's churn. How long can they keep people in it? We care about bringing and building great companies in the area. That's what I care about. I care about great technology. I said to someone the other night, you know, there's the manufacturing jobs left. They left. Mm-hmm. You could cry about them all you want. They left. They're not coming back. But a new form of manufacturing is coming, and that's robotics. Robotics, wearables, and that's specifically fine manufacturing. Everyone understands that aerospace could not have gone to China. It's too fine. It's too specialized. We could build chairs in China, but we can't build our jet engines. The same thing with the robots. There's going to be a lot of fine manufacturing that will either be the same price to manufacture here. China is not so cheap anymore, or there's going to be more skill set here. And because people are not, you know, when people are in a funk, you know, they're depressed, they can't see opportunity. Opportunity goes by these people. And that's what I saw in Hartford almost in the beginning. I said, there's so much opportunity coming our way. The city can sit there and grab and say, we're going to become not the insurance giant of America, the robotics giant of America. We're going to take control. Robotics service center. All these Chinese manufacturers, Japanese manufacturers that are wanting to enter the country, enter through our port. Don't look anywhere else.
Why do you, you know, you had this idea, you talk about like people didn't see the opportunity and you saw the opportunity. And I understand that you used to live in 5 different countries. You lived in 5 different countries.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. Why do you think you saw the opportunity and no one else has? Because this is the first time any of this has been mentioned.
I'm not more special than anyone else, but I think it takes the outsider to come and take a look in. And I think many insiders have tried doing this before and got stuck in bureaucracy and you know, but I'm the first one, I think, that came from the outside completely. So you judge it for good or for bad differently. You're more objective. I have nothing to lose. This is not my city, in a way, which can also be really good because I could be all in without, you know, issues of the past and say, oh, but someone tried and failed, because that's what really drives us. And specifically, I'm an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur is a bit crazy. We don't really see, I remember I grew up in a company that would teach us, never say never and the sky isn't the limit. The sky isn't the limit for me. I really look up to the sky and I see beyond. So,
you planning on living in Hartford?
Possibly.
Possibly,
yeah. Yeah, I'm more and more enamored with this city every day that goes by, and I love the community, and I love what we're going to do in 1 year from today, 12 months. Mark my words.
Okay, I'm gonna
mark my words.
You to it.
I'm gonna have to come back in 1 year for a follow-up interview.
Well, I understand that at one point you wanted to be a neurosurgeon, and you wanted to invent the I think you call it the external womb.
I still want to.
You still want to.
I still want to.
Tell people what that external womb is all about.
My entire life has been an obsession with tech and medicine. So. And it's funny because it's actually very similar, because the tech is very similar to the brain. So a computer, and it was built based on similar functions to the brain. So everything, that's one world that's really exciting to me. And I believe that there's certain functions that we'll be able to take externally. And one that always fascinated me was that I don't think that in the future women will necessarily have to get pregnant to have children. We're going to have an external womb where after insemination the fertilized egg will be able to be put there and grow externally.
And maybe that child will grow up and in that little place, and maybe he will just go.
Hopefully.
I'm sure a lot of women
and
are
we'll
happy.
teach him tons of stuff while at it, so he'll be a super smart. But imagine in a world, and this is just, you know, entrepreneurs are so wonderful because each one has their own cause and their own mission and what they want to change. But just imagine something like this. By the way, there's places in the world that people are talking about. This is not sci-fi anymore. how many women could this help? How many women that cannot get pregnant and want a child? This is game changing. This could save millions of, not save lives, but change so many lives.
Is this something that you want to concentrate on also? Or right now we're just talking about Innovate Hartford? Or is this something in the back of your mind?
There's about 10 other things in the back of my mind. And, I'll tell a funny story. I started my career in corporate America, and I grew up in corporate America. And at one point, I remember sitting at probably the highest paying job that I had. And I would sit and I would say to myself, I'm so bored. I can't breathe. I wish I had an idea. I had no ideas. And
is that when you were working at Hewlett Packard?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I just sat there and I said, and I was working on a great program, but I was just bored because it was 9 to 5 and I had nothing to do. And I begged God to give me an idea. Today, once you start, what happens is you have so many ideas. Every entrepreneur will tell you they may be working on one thing, they have at least 10 or 12 in their mind. That is going to be their next project. So Innovate Hartford is what I'm working on right now. This is my 100% focus, but I have at least 10 wearable ideas I want to work on. Now, it may not be me physically working on. I may invest in startups working in them.
But this is an interest that you have.
Exactly.
You mentioned in your conversation, you mentioned that you asked God, give me an idea. I understand that you're Jewish.
Yes.
This is SHalom Hartford. Does God figure into your picture?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course, very, very much.
How so?
It's more than how so, how not so. He's there every moment of every day. I'm so spiritual today that for me, I feel connected 24/7 with God.
Do you pray every day?
Not in the Jewish sense of the word. I'm not practicing Jewish at all, but I speak with him, in my form of prayer. So
How does that speaking look like? Are you talking the way you're talking to me?
Possibly. It could be, there's just different ways in whatever to get advice. When you feel connected in the way that I do, and I'm a very spiritual being, it's not, for me, spirituality and God are not something that, oh yes, he's there and I have to fear him or do things for him. I literally feel sometimes this is my father, that type of connection.
You think you got that from yourself or from your family?
From myself.
From yourself?
Yes. I wasn't raised to think this way. I was actually raised to think differently, but where I am today feels to me the most right way. It's this beautiful love connection I have with God, and he advises me, and everything I do or every direction I take.
So you see the world through that lens, through a God lens.
Yeah.
So that's a strong lens to see the world. So what's he telling you now? What's he telling you to do?
Obviously, it looks like I'm going to be hospitalized after this session, the girl who talks to God. But in our physical world, the way we see the manifestation many times is, and the way I believe the manifestation is, if things go smoothly or if things go hard. Many times we feel, oh, if it's going hard, I have to push more. And I believe that if things go smoothly, it's almost like this is the right path. In a way, someone is lighting the path for us. We just sometimes don't see it. And that's almost how Hartford happened to me. This last 12 months have moved so quickly and so effortlessly. I came, I saw, I raised the money, I built, I got a team. It's almost like, and being an entrepreneur, we're used to hardship. We're really used to things not working out. And you're used to having to, push a little bit and fight a little bit. I had no fighting here. Everything was so easy and so simple that for me, that is the manifestation of, okay, this is part of my destiny. This I need to do. It doesn't always have to be hard. But that's almost how I feel when I say I get advice, what should I do? People talk about signs. For me, it's natural occurrences that I say, okay, it was shown this is the way versus that is the way. This is where I put my energy versus there.
So as a parting thought to Hartford, because that's where we are, what's a parting thought that you'd have about Innovate Hartford? What's a major parting thought?
Well, what I really want to do is call to arms. You know what I mean? Tell people in Hartford, in West Hartford, if I come from the outside and I'm so passionate to make change here, it's not possible or fathomable that you're not. Join us. come work with us. I'm not working for Shana. I'm working for you. You need this more than I need this. I could go back home. This isn't home. I'm in New York. If it doesn't work out, nothing to me. But if it does, it changes your city. It changes a place for your children to have work. It changes a place for your children to be in a place where they're excited to be. It's game-changing for you. By the way, part of the people going to be in our space will be, we want the early retirees. We're going to be open to all ages. That's what I'm saying. It's not 19-year-olds, pretty 19-year-olds. Everyone is welcome. Your 4-year-olds will be taught to code. Your 10-year-olds will be taught robotics. You have to be part of this. And what does it mean to be part of this? Give us a call. Find out how you can help. We just need the support of everyone. We need everyone to be part of this. We need events that you can all organize and come. There's so many ways to get involved. And this is the time. Don't wait. Don't say, okay, well, let her do the hard work and then we'll come to an event. No. Be the game changer. Be part of the change.
We've been talking to Shana Schlossberg, the moving force behind Innovate Hartford, and she's talking about you being the change and you coming out. And we are going to see, I think, great things from this young woman and her idea. Remember, you be the change. I'm Pat Kazikoff. You're watching SHalom Hartford.